Joining us now, Mike Allen. And he, of course, he's from Politico. And Mike and Jim Vandehei wrote the piece. And now Sarah Palin's calling you a joke. Mike, how are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. So Sarah Palin says you're a joke. What say you?
Well, the people who were quoted in this article point out that this conversation is fantastic for Sarah Palin, that if she decides to make a run for presidency, she will run right at the establishment. And the fact that the establishment is already concerned about her, that she's in their head, that they're focused on her, is fantastic for her. In fact, also in that interview, she said that she thought she might send Jim Vandehei and me flowers because we were helping getting out a message that she thought should be gotten out.
No, she also accused you of yellow journalism and using. And I think her point is that most of the piece is not attributed, right? I mean, you have some couple quotes from Michael Steele, and that's interesting. But I think that the issue is that there are all these whispers going on behind the scenes on the eve of the midterm election, and I guess nobody has the courage to actually be quoted, which I find interesting. So I think that was her point here. If you're going to run a piece about stopping Palin, you better have a little more on the way of on-the-record commentary and quotes than just Michael Steele.
Well, Laura, another way to look at it is it's kind of elitist to say that only people in Washington should be participating in these conversations. If these conversations are going on, that Politico should hide them, that we should not report them, that we should only allow people who run in sets here or have drinks here or have dinners here know what's going on. This way, Sarah Palin's supporters or opponents, her, can be a part of the conversation, can know exactly what's being said.
But there is no conversation because nobody's quoted.
We reached out to Sarah Palin over several days. They decided that they didn't want to be quoted because they didn't want to have this conversation before the election. They said they wanted to have this conversation after. So she obviously changed her mind about that. But this is what's changing about the media, Laura, is it used to be that...
Yeah, you had sources and quotes on the record.
It used to be that people in Washington would, if you wanted to have drinks with Mark Halperin or if you wanted to have dinner with Todd Purdom, you would know what was being said. Now, we're reporting, this is what's being said in D.C., here are the ramifications of it. Here's how it's helpful to Sarah Palin. Here's how it affects the presidential primary field. So we're pulling back the curtain on a process that used to be hidden from average voters, normal people, your listeners, people who aren't hanging out with Jeff Zeleny.
Well, first of all, I don't think most people listening in New Mexico and Colorado, they don't know any of the people that you're referencing. I mean, Mike, so that in and of itself is inside the Beltway mentality. But what I think, again, the point is you feel entirely comfortable at Politico. And, I highlight you guys all the time. I mean, you guys do some fantastic reporting. But you are perfectly comfortable writing a piece about what is, I guess, sort of gossip and whisper campaign that is designed to take down this woman without a single quote attributing to this. Without a single person on the record other than Michael Steele, who in his comments are fairly interesting.
The story points out the opposite of what you're saying. This is helpful to Sarah Palin. She's not trying to be the candidate or the champion or the supporter of establishment Washington. If you listen to her campaign appearances, she goes against the establishment. That's her appeal. Her appeal is that she's not part of this Washington set. And so to say that these comments are harmful to her or designed to take her down or negative toward her, that's total misreading.
Top Republicans in Washington. I'm going to read it. You tell me if this is distorting it. Top Republicans in Washington and in the national GOP establishment say the 2010 campaign highlighted an urgent task that they will begin in earnest as soon as the elections are over. Stop Sarah Palin.
Okay,
that's good for Sarah Palin. If she wants to run for president, if I'm saying, obviously, this is all predicated on the idea that she's not ruled out running for president. That's what I'm talking about here. And I don't have any skin in this game. I don't know who ultimately or whom ultimately I'll support. It's not about that. It's about this type of approach. And Jon Stewart talked about this at his rally, and a lot of liberals loved it. Oh, Jon Stewart said, this chatter that's going on out there is not really helpful because it's too loud or it's too this. And I think you could extend it to this, where you don't have people on the record, not a single person on the record, except this Michael Steele line or two. That's a big statement. They're trying to stop Sarah Palin, and no one will be brave enough to have a quote attributed to them?
So you think that if Sarah Palin were to run for president, she would want the Washington establishment, that would be her base, that for the Washington establishment to be concerned about her is harmful to her?
Do you think she can win? Sarah Palin can win the nomination if she doesn't pull together the kind of the intellectual conservatives with the foreign policy conservatives, with the libertarians, and with the Tea Party people. I think whoever wins is going to appeal to all those groups. And if you don't have one of those groups, you're not going to get the nomination. You can't win unless you have some of the, the Republican, quote, thinker types who say, yeah, all right, I like what she has to say. I don't think you can win it, Mike. But that's a different conversation. All I'm saying is I like a lot of what you guys do. I think some terrific reporting. This surprised me. This surprised me because it didn't seem to measure up to other things that you guys do. And to me, that was a little disappointing.
Okay, so the next time that there's a widespread conversation in D.C. about a national figure, you think that we should not write about it, that we should not report it because it's going to hurt their feelings, or because somebody might
because it's not what a journalist is supposed to do. A journalist is actually supposed to get a few people on the record and not just print what people are afraid to say, because that doesn't have, there's no accountability. You can't go to Ed Gillespie and say, well, Ed, you said this. I want to follow up with what you said. It's all just creating a big, rumor mill and without attribution. You know this, Mike. You're having a conversation. I don't remember seeing these types of articles about seminal liberal figures. That's what I don't remember seeing. And maybe you can show me what you've done, and maybe I've missed something. But to me, I don't see the same type of piece about a liberal when there's a commonly held view that no one wants to actually be quoted about that's bubbling up around Washington. That's all I'm saying. And look, you have an incredibly successful website and some great reporters there. This just surprised me. That's all.
And the reason that it's successful is that we tell people what's going on, that we're not afraid to write about things that in past years would have been available only to elite Washington insiders, that this is something that we pulled back the curtain, told people what was happening, invited Governor Palin to be part of the conversation. Now her supporters, her opponents, are free to be part of the conversation. That's what journalism should do. That's what.
Well, let me just say, if you're going to run a piece about me, and for the most part the criticisms of me are unattributed, that's going to be a short conversation. Okay, and I think you, as a smart person, if someone called and said, "Oh, Mike, we have a piece running about you. They're saying this, this, and this, and this. You want any comments?" That's a drive-by. That's not what I've come to expect from you guys. But Mike, we wanted to have you on, and you gave your view, and I understand what you're saying. I'm losing my voice. You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show, Mike. We appreciate it. Stay with us.